The reality is when you think of, at least in our backyard, 1 in 7 children being sexually abused, and to put that number in perspective, when you were at the Capitol, we talked about this, but you think of what is your football stadium here? Allegiant. You could fill that 3 of those stadiums filled with children. And there would still be children left. That wouldn't even contain all the children in Utah that are being sexually abused.
Right.
These are real people. And you came when you were there, you had these people come and cry in your shoulder, and you hear their stories, and it's like, who's fighting for these kids?
Exactly.
And we think, oh, our politicians. No, it's not our politicians. Just like it's not our politicians that are saving our country right now.
Right.
It has to be the people. And I think the people we've been brainwashed into this idea that politicians and leaders are the ones that are going to save our country. And no, it has to be us.
Right.
It's citizens. It's you. It's regular people that need to stand up and start fighting.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Access Las Vegas. Today I am so excited to have special guests come in from Utah. So once I met them, we became fast friends, and I'm very excited for you to hear their story. So welcome to the show, you guys.
Well, it's great to be here.
Great to be here with you, Sharelle.
So I'm going to dive right in, but I want you to introduce yourself first and foremost, where you're from, and why you're here.
Well, we are Jason and Alexia. Well, he's Jason. I'm Alexia Preston, and we are the people Utah. So Jason ran for Congress in 2022, and we took that great momentum and built it into a radio show in Utah. Mm-hmm. And there was just so much to cover in terms of what's going on behind the scenes on the political sphere, more geopolitical sphere. And then as we got more into culture, we realized there's all kinds of issues going on facing Utah, really nefarious things under the surface. Yeah. So stories would come to us. We have a great team of investigators. It started political. We were very involved with the GOP scene there. Yeah. And it dovetailed into more of the abuse that was going on under the scene.
Yeah, and we're going to definitely dive into that in a moment, but introduce yourself. And
Jason Preston, married to this pretty amazing woman, and I mean, we've got 2 beautiful girls and a grandson, and our thing is, I've just always loved freedom. I believe the Constitution. I believe that people need to stand up for it, and I believe the most important fight is the fight in your backyard, because you have control over that, right? I can make a difference in my backyard. I can make so little difference in D.C. Yeah. But I can make a difference in my own backyard. And so that's been our whole focus, is we've been trying to wake people up. And the more we dig into it, it's like, oh my gosh, like this stuff can't even be real. But it is.
I want to invite Nevada into this conversation. You're our neighbor. Yeah. And so as we have these conversations, something that I love, and as I met you guys behind closed doors, you are so passionate about this. Sometimes people see the issue and they feel like it's so big that they can't do anything. Yeah. But if you save one, if you help one. And so I want to kind of dive into what is it specifically that is going on with children in Nevada or in Utah, I'm sorry, but what is the issue there?
So I will say something about what you said earlier about the apathetic culture there. We actually are from Miami, so we moved to Utah in 2017. And when we moved there, we thought it was this great Christian conservative state, all was well in Zion, right? So as we got more involved in the scene, we realized it was anything but. The culture there has very much their head in the sand. So it's an easy place to prey on some things, like whether it's on the political sphere or the cultural front, because you have a culture that's so obedient and so trusting that it's an easy place to roll out all kinds of programs. So that was the first thing. And then once we saw there was that entry point, there's an easy way to segue into a lot more horrific things. Enter the ritual abuse of children that we've been uncovering over the last 2.5 years now.
So what is the specific issue? So I've been there personally. Yeah. And we were on the steps of the Capitol addressing the issue in Utah of child abuse. Right. And so you have told me that it's one of the worst. Or tell me about that.
So, it's one of the highest in the country for child sex abuse.
Oh, okay. Specifically child sex abuse.
Child sex abuse.
Okay.
And not ironically, but I think it's very connected that it is the highest almost consistently in child suicide.
Oh my gosh.
And I absolutely am confident there's a connection there.
Okay.
And, the thing that has really frustrated us is obviously we're digging into understanding what in the world's going on in our backyard, especially a state that on the surface everything looks perfect. But then when you understand those stats and as you interview survivor after survivor, victim after victim after victim of the most horrific abuse, and you see these statistics, and then you have your representatives, like one of our state senators, Todd Weiler.
Yeah.
He was, thankfully, the national media exposed, and we were trying to expose in our backyard, that he was pushing legislation to minimize the penalty for trafficking kids, minimizing the penalties for child sex abuse. I mean, we're screaming from the rooftops, like, look, we've got a problem here, and we've got a legislator who's actively pushing legislation that protects perpetrators.
Yeah.
And then just more recently, we find out that our the president of our Senate, Stuart Adams, his grandchild was convicted of raping a 13-year-old child.
Yep.
Well, what happens? Well, we find out that he ends up being involved with legislation that gets passed that minimizes the penalty of an 18-year-old having sex with a child, a 13-year-old. Obviously, his grandchild gets off the hook, and the penalties are minimized
because of the laws that were
passed. And it's like, does no one else see a problem here?
I love that you guys bring that up, because guess what? We have elections coming up soon. And people are forgetting how important it is to vote for the right people, to be engaged. It is our civic duty. It is our spiritual duty. It is our family duty. Because what you're talking about is protecting these children. These are your kids. These are your grandchildren. These are your nieces, your nephews. It's not just policies that don't impact me. People have said that for too long. And I do want to continually hammer apathy, because as neighboring states, we're both pretty apathetic. And I love that you have addressed this. It's not just one party issue.
No, Utah's Republicans.
Yes.
I mean, you guys have been overrun with the Democratic Party, and it's like, oh, okay, it's easy to see that corruption's there. But corruption and evil doesn't follow party lines. I mean, it's like Epstein. It's like, oh, the Democrats. No. It's both parties that get involved with this stuff. And, the reality is, when you think of, at least in our backyard, 1 in 7 children being sexually abused, and to put that number in perspective, when you were at the Capitol, we talked about this, but, you think of what is your football stadium here? Allegiant. You could fill that 3 of those stadiums filled with children, and there would still be children left. That wouldn't even contain all the children in Utah that are being sexually abused.
Right.
These are real people, and you came when you were there. You had these people come and cry in your shoulder, and you hear their stories, and it's like, who's fighting for these kids?
Exactly.
And we think, oh, our politicians. No, it's not our politicians. Just like it's not our politicians that are saving our country right now.
Right.
It has to be the people. And I think the people we've been brainwashed into this idea that politicians and leaders are the ones that are going to save our country. And no, it has to be us.
Right.
It's citizens. It's you. It's regular people that need to stand up and start fighting for what's at stake.
Originally, it was meant to be a collaboration. It was meant to be a partnership for when we, the people, come together and say, hey, this is what's happening within our society. This is a societal issue. These, whether it's taxes, economy, and we bring that to them, and they're supposed to then make the laws to make it better.
Yeah.
Or the parameters, or start these leaders helping to change. But there hasn't been that. It's just been okay, you go take care of that, instead of us doing our job.
Do you know what my thought is when the founding fathers created the Constitution, they were very clear that there was a hierarchy. There's God. There's the individual, who has the son and daughter of deity, the sovereign.
Right.
And beneath that is the government. And
Yep.
the government's job is to work for the sovereign individual. They're below them. Well, I find it very interesting that there's been this effort throughout the government over the years to remove God from the schools, remove God from the court, because when you remove God, where do your rights come from?
Right.
It flips and government becomes God. And I think that's what this country has become.
Yeah.
And so I think, for the people here in Nevada, it's crazy some of the things going on at a national level, but how much control do you really have over what goes on in DC, let alone what's going on in Israel?
Right.
But when things unravel, you have a lot of control over your backyard.
Right.
And that's the fight people need to understand is what's happening. Who are their state reps?
Right.
Who are their representatives that are closest to them that pass state legislation? Because that's a winnable fight.
Right. And so this next section that I want to go into, I want to give you guys a warning as you're watching right now, because some of these things are hard to hear. They're hard to even fathom. But if we don't talk about them, then we can't address the real issue and we can't make the changes necessary. We can't come together, whether it's prayer and praying for these kids, whether it's actually taking action, whatever is necessary as you see this and as you're provoked, but to get involved. But I do want to warn you, I know I personally, as I started listening to some of these things and hearing them, they were brutal. And one of the pieces of jewelry I'm wearing today is intentional because this beautiful woman that had a boldness to come forward and tell her story, she previously had gone through some of the most horrific things I've heard. And so I want to warn you, challenge you, if you stay listening, to not sit idly by, but to get involved. So now I'm going to shift.
Yeah.
So we've identified that there's a real issue in Utah. Something I was unaware of when I was hearing these women's stories on the steps of the Capitol is both of their stories took place inside of a specific church. Their abuse happened. And I learned more about SRA. So if you can, I want to kind of give you guys a platform to talk about what is SRA specifically and how is this happening inside of that church.
Can I set the stage?
Absolutely.
Because I think it's important, because I think this is a topic that's really hard for people to grapple with. Like, how could this, satanic ritual abuse seem real? Because it seems so far out.
So SRA is satanic ritual abuse. Okay.
I think it's important that our, your viewers and listeners remember that when you go and you read through the Old Testament, there is a theme through there. And one of the things you see is them talking about passing their children through the fires. And what is that? And throughout history, you look at some of these temples in South America, you look at even in the Catholic Church, there are rooms, there are things filled with the skulls of children. I mean, that is something that is real. There is, Satan is real, just as God is real. And his currency has always been children. And I'm a big history buff. I love studying, the Soviet Union and the Gulag and what happened in Jerusalem, in Israel, and with the Jews, in Germany with the Jews. There has been horrific abuse, even in the last 100 years. But what we have found and what's come to us and what we've been realizing is in our backyard, beneath the beautiful surface, is there's a darkness that has been festering unchecked. And it is an organization called the LDS Church of Satan. And I know it's hard for people to believe it. It was hard. The first time it came to us, we didn't believe it.
Wow.
We pushed against it. In fact, we thought, it's just too much to believe that there's an organization that is sacrificing children, that is doing, literally the most horrific things, until we started looking into it and having survivors come and talk to us.
And let me just set the distinction between, this is not the LDS Church. This is an infiltration of the church. So you have, on the surface, church-going leaders, bishops, stake presidents, counselors that go up, whether it's at conference or at the pulpit, and they're preaching on Sunday, the most inspired talks. Whereas we have survivors with credible stories and receipts calling out some of those same people. And this is present day, and this goes back to the 1980s when the so-called satanic panic was branded by the media to cover this all up. So it can hide in plain sight because people don't want it to be real, and because it's so unfathomable to be real.
Right, and something that is popular that, you know, people are talking about in Hollywood is adrenochrome. You know, and that's a piece of it.
Look, Epstein, Pizzagate, what's going on in Hollywood? Look, we've been so caught in the battle of left and right. And I think one of the beautiful things now, and I think Charlie Kirk has really helped people see, this is not a battle of left and right.
Yeah.
This is a battle of good and evil. And the evil that has infiltrated this world and this country as we move into these biblical days, which I believe we are living in, is the same evil that has existed since the beginning of time. And it is real.
Yeah.
And we have, you know, we filmed a show on this 2.5 years ago, which ended up getting us in a lawsuit because these people who were involved in this basically threatened, said either you remove that show or we're going to sue you for defamation.
Wow.
We happen to believe these girls, these sisters that shared these court documents, their victim statements, and enough survivors we talked to said, you know what, we're not going to take this down. They ended up being sued. Well, once that lawsuit came, we said, all right, if we're getting sued over this, we need to probably understand this. And so since then, we have interviewed countless survivors of this abuse.
Right.
And I will tell you the things I have learned and things we've sat down and heard from these beautiful women and men are things that honestly, I won't even share them because people, I don't even know how people can believe it's real. Right. I mean, I struggle to believe it's real except for the fact that I know it is.
Yeah.
But there is true organized evil, not just in DC, not just in Hollywood, but within the LDS Church.
And our spiritual backyards.
Exactly. In our own backyard. And the thing we are now releasing, we've been interviewing survivor after survivor, and we've been trying to help wake people up in Utah little by little. But over the course of the next month and a half, we're going to be releasing survivors' stories.
Wow.
That go so far as implicate members of the 12, the very top of the church, tied into this.
As we're leading into this, where can they find you? Because we have so much more to talk about, but where can they find you? Where are they going to be able to see this series of interviews take place?
So we're on all major podcast platforms. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Podbeam, Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
It's best to find us on YouTube or Rumble because we have presentations. We don't like to just go baselessly making these accusations. Especially with this lawsuit, this is something that we truly believe in. How is there no justice for these people that come forward, that are so brave to come forward?
Yeah.
So if the justice system won't give it to them, if the media suppresses it, then where are they ever going to get that justice?
I truly know that there's evil happening in my backyard, in your backyard. And if we don't do something about it, it will persist or get worse. But I also know that God is bigger.
Yeah.
And that there is hope. And that he used one person, like a Samson, to take thousands of people out. He used David's. He used one man, one woman, time and time again to either take out the bad guys or to save their entire people.
Yeah.
And so she's like, those are the things that I want to make sure that people focus on today. It's just like, when they watch this, that yes, there are bad things, but guess what? When we do something, when we say, God, use us, God, like just like you did for the David, the forgotten guy that was sitting out in the fields, he wasn't even thought of as someone who would be a person who could be the king. He wasn't even brought to the table. And he's the one that was going out and fighting. And so he had David's mighty men. And so I just want to bring that as we're talking about this. I want people to have hope that you guys are moving the needle, that justice is going to be served as they come forward, and the tables are turning. So I'm just speaking that out right now.
Well, and what did David use to take down the giant? It was just a little rock.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
And I think God is shining a light on the darkness.
Yeah.
I think he's had enough of the filth and the corruption.
Amen.
These secret organizations that hide within, our government, within our churches, within our media in Hollywood. And I really, it is beautiful to see the people waking up and realizing, you know what? there is true evil out there.
Yeah.
And we are not powerless.
Yes.
And we
amen.
do not need to be in an elected position, elected by the arm of flesh to stand.
Yeah.
You have been anointed for what you're doing. I know that. And that anointing didn't come from being elected.
Yeah.
It didn't come from your church. It came from God.
Yeah.
And
amen.
I believe the same thing about so many of your listeners out there. Is many of them have been anointed to stand and fight in this day and time we are in.
Absolutely.
And I would just say those of you who feel that anointing, feel that there's something stirring in you. You have a role to play in standing for these children, standing for truth, standing for right. You don't need to wait. You don't need to run for office. You don't need to wait for someone to ask you. You need to stand into your calling.
Yeah.
And honestly, that has been our mission, is to wake the people in Utah up to the corruption, to the evil, and encourage them to stand and encourage these survivors to come. And so we have been doing that, and it is amazing. It is amazing because courage breeds courage, and the more of these survivors that come and start to say, "Look, this is real."
Yeah.
I mean, if you go watch our shows. And by the way, you can find us, just go to our website, wearethepeople.org, or you can go to our YouTube, We Are the People Utah. And you can not only watch these videos from the survivors, but go down in the comments.
Yeah.
And you will see individual after individual, survivor after survivor, bearing witness of their own type of abuse with this, that it is real. And I promise you, this stuff is very real.
Yeah.
You know, God is real. I know he's real. And so is his enemy. And this is a beautiful time. And I just do not believe we were sent to this earth to sit on the sidelines.
Amen. And I love that. Just like wake up, you know, just like the apathy, we don't get to be apathetic anymore. We do not get to sit on the sidelines and just hope that our kids are safe. Yeah. You know, the numbers are staggering. Yeah. And this is a pivotal moment in history.
Yeah. And that's why we're seeing the revival that we're seeing now.
Absolutely.
And there is that spirit that's rising up in everyone.
Yeah.
And even when you see horrific things like we've been getting into, and even our own lawsuit, we know that it's no longer even about us.
Yeah.
And this is something that is chosen so that these things can come to light.
Right.
It's not even about proving anything at this point other than showing that this is real, because the proof is there.
Yeah.
The proof is there. If people have eyes to see and ears to hear,
amen,
they will receive the fact that this is just the current state that we live in, but it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
Because of that revival, because of that energy that's now invigorated in.
And also, whoever is watching right now, so we made a comment that we were going to fill up the entire steps of the Utah Capitol, including the lawn. So I need you guys to make sure you're watching and following their journey to know when that date's going to be. I obviously will be posting it as well, but you guys need to follow. I know so many of you who have friends and relatives that live in Utah, and it's just a couple-hour drive to be able to support this cause and what they're doing. So no matter what, I need you to follow their journey. I need you to get involved, and it's a partnership. And I'm not willing to say that, you know, Utah's not my state. They are. I am absolutely. They're my sibling. They're my brother. They're my sister, and I'm not going down without a fight by fighting with them. So just to make sure that people follow along on that journey, because that is a vision that I saw when I was standing on the steps, and I know that God's going to fulfill that. And I am just so excited, because it just means that people are saying, not on my watch.
And Utah is significant. There is a reason why this is coming from Utah. There is a reason Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah. Utah is ground zero. I believe that. And what happens there is, if it's not already happening in the neighboring states, it could very well come to your state soon.
Right.
I'll tell you something interesting, because you're aware of the situation with you know, us doing this initiative to wake up the people and get the people to get out and get signatures.
Right.
Well, we started a billboard campaign, and with the first day we got some billboards up, basically calling out Stuart Adams, the president of the Utah State Senate, and about the child abuse issue. Within a day, we get an email from the billboard company basically saying that we can't run those billboards
anymore. Yeah.
The next day, there's a new billboard that pops up in the same place, promoting, thanking Stuart Adams.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we came up with some new designs, even promoting, just simply stop Utah child abuse.
Yeah.
And trying to wake people up. Well, guess what? They refused to put those billboards up.
Even the Charlie Kirk billboard was shut down as well.
So then after Charlie Kirk was shot, we said, okay, we can design a new billboard that said, "We are Charlie." And they have refused. And now every single billboard company in the state except for one that has 2 single billboards has refused. We've got the money that has been donated by volunteers and by our supporters to have a billboard, campaign across the state. Every single billboard company has refused to work with us.
Oh my goodness!
Even on stopping child abuse, promoting, standing for Charlie Kirk. And the answer they come is, "Oh, well, we don't want to be political." Wait a minute. You have billboards for every single one of our elected officials when it's campaign season. You can run their billboards. You can run billboards promoting our politicians.
But not to stop child abuse.
But you won't put up ours. You'll put up billboards that are inappropriate, have people that have halfway dressed. But you will not put up our billboards that are calling out corruption in our state.
That's such a good point too. That putting people up half dressed, being able to promote or sexualize individuals, but not to protect children.
Yeah.
Whether people agree or not on all these other things, I think it was 90-something% agree on releasing the Epstein files and the issues that are going on. So to me, what I see is people want to uncover the truth now. Yeah. And so that gives me hope, across the board that we are moving in the right direction. So we are out of time, but before we close, I just want, a 60-second from either of you. If you could leave the people of Nevada, of Las Vegas, with one thing, what would it be?
There is nothing more powerful than an individual who knows who they are and where their power comes from. And if I could leave with one message, it's to your audience. Mm-hmm. You were sent for this time. You have a role to play. Amen. You do not need the president. You do not need someone in office to give you your authority. It is there. God is we are in the battle of good and evil. It's not coming. We are in it. And God is looking for his soldiers to stand and fight. Amen. And to those of you on the other side who are listening, if you feel that inside you, that you have a role to play, stand up into it. Yeah. And if you don't know what that role is, get on your knees, spend time with the Creator, because he is calling his warriors, his sons and daughters of God, to stand up and fight, because the evil is marching. They are raging. And if you think that God is sitting back there and that the president is going to come save you, that your pastor is going to come save you, no, God is calling you. And so that is, if there's any message I can give people, stand up, get control of your backyard, make a difference where you stand. Amen. Because you do not know how powerful you are when you just stand in the authority God gave you.
Beautifully said. Where my foot is, there is my territory. That was so beautiful. Yes. What about you?
We've been warned about these times. This is prophecy, whether you're LDS or other Christian faith or Jewish, these are prophetic times. Take heed to those warnings, that where we are in history is the times that we were warned about. It's not for our children's generation. And even if it was, do you want to leave this for our children to fight? Because we have the opportunity now to shine light on things that are important, that we can hopefully change the course and put it back in his hands.
Amen. And we are. Yes. And we are changing the course. You guys, thank you so much for joining us. I know that this was such a tough topic, but I do believe that there's hope. And so many of you who are watching could be one of those individuals who was abused. And so I want you to have hope that there are people out there that are fighting this fight. And we all know that God, no matter what, gets the victory in the end. So we love you. Thank you for joining us on Access Las Vegas. My name is Sharelle Mendenhall.
Access Las Vegas is hosted by Sharelle Mendenhall. Follow her online at Sharelle Mendenhall. Thank you to Alexia and Jason Preston for being our guest on this week's episode. For more information, check out wearethepeople.org, stoputahchildabuse.com, and follow on social media at wearethepeopleutah.